This paradox, first explored by Michel de Montaigne in the 16th century, might be the most important truth you'll ever learn about achieving well-being. Have you ever noticed how tightly gripping sand makes it slip through your fingers faster? In the next few minutes, I'll challenge conventional wisdom about success, happiness, and peace of mind. Like building a house of cards, our attempts to meticulously control every outcome often create the very instability we fear. I'll show you why constant worry about controlling outcomes actively blocks the very things you're trying to achieve, and what to do instead to find genuine well-being. Don't forget to like and subscribe. What if the thing holding you back isn't your job, your partner, or your circumstances? What if the real barrier is something you've created yourself, brick by brick, worry by worry? You know the feeling. That tightness in your chest when you wake up dreading the day ahead. The mental exhaustion by mid-afternoon from constantly evaluating others' perceptions of you. The shallow breathing, tension in your shoulders, racing thoughts that never quiet down. Every anxious breath and hesitant decision adds another brick to this self-constructed cell. A prison manifested physically in your body and mentally in your choices. Consider Sarah, who spent years in a corporate job she hated because leaving would disappoint her parents. Each morning, she'd stare at her wardrobe for 20 minutes, paralyzed by imagining colleagues' judgments of her outfit choice. By afternoon, she was exhausted, not from actual work, but from the performance of being who everyone expected. Think about this. Every time you've made a decision based on what others might think rather than what feels right, you've added to that wall. Every time you've stayed silent when you wanted to speak, chosen safety over adventure, or forced yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you've reinforced your confinement. The walls aren't made of stone. They're built from your choices, cemented with worry and fear of failure. You carry these invisible bricks everywhere. They're labeled, "What will they think?" "I'm not good enough." "What if I fail?" "I should be further along by now." Their weight crushes you, slowing your walk, hunching your posture, draining your energy before you've begun to use it. This weight affects everything. Small decisions become exhausting calculations. What to wear transforms into complex equations of potential judgments. Bigger life choices become paralyzing dilemmas where the right answer is whatever pleases others or matches internalized standards. You want to change careers, but what would your parents say? End a relationship, but what would friends think? Pursue a passion, but what if you're not good enough? The most draining part is the constant performance. You're on stage continuously, performing for an audience that isn't watching closely. They're busy with their own performances and worries. Yet you continue adjusting your words, filtering thoughts, monitoring expressions, all to avoid disapproval from people giving you minimal attention. Look at your life decisions. The college major selected for practicality instead of passion. The partner chosen for checking boxes rather than making your heart race. The home in a good area rather than the neighborhood that felt like you. The career providing status while draining your spirit. What would life look like without these self-imposed limitations? Who would you be if you stopped trying to impress people who barely notice? What energy would you have without carrying that weight? You're trapped in a prison of your own making, but you hold the key. The walls aren't real. The judgments you fear are mostly projections of your insecurities. The standards you're killing yourself to meet were never yours. This isn't about blame. You didn't consciously choose this prison. Society, family expectations, and achievement culture handed you the blueprint. You followed instructions, believing they'd lead to happiness. Now you're standing in your creation, looking through bars at freedom you can claim. The key has been in your pocket all along. It's realizing most worries never materialize. Understanding others' judgment is rarely as harsh as your self-criticism. Recognizing failure isn't fatal, it's informative. Knowing others' opinions matter less than your own truth. This prison formed gradually. One worried thought, one people-pleasing decision at a time. Understanding its construction requires examining something fundamental. your relationship with control. Think about something you're worried about right now. Maybe it's a work deadline, a relationship problem, or an uncertain future. How much energy are you spending trying to control the outcome? How many hours have you lost to planning conversations that never happen, preparing for scenarios that never unfold, or trying to force situations to bend to your will? Montaigne understood something profound about human suffering that most of us still haven't grasped. He saw that our desperate need for control is the very thing that causes our deepest pain. The illusion that we can somehow manage every aspect of our lives if we just try hard enough is perhaps the most destructive belief we carry. It promises security but delivers anxiety. It promises peace but creates war within ourselves. This is the very observation Montaigne made centuries ago, a paradox that might change everything for you. The more you try to control life, the less control you actually have. This isn't mystical teaching, but practical psychology. When you fixate on controlling outcomes, you become blind to opportunities, deaf to intuition, and numb to the present moment. Consider a common work scenario. You spend hours perfecting a presentation, anticipating every possible question, creating backup slides for tangential topics. When the meeting arrives, your boss changes direction completely, rendering your meticulous preparation irrelevant. You're so locked into your planned responses that you struggle to adapt, while your colleague who prepared more loosely responds with flexibility and insight. The pursuit of absolute control is a mental trap that keeps you busy and disconnected from what truly matters. Your mental bandwidth becomes consumed by trying to predict fundamentally unpredictable things. You plan conversations down to the word and create backup plans for your backup plans. This isn't preparation, it's paralysis disguised as productivity. Examine the evidence in your own life. When you've tried to control others' reactions, it created tension rather than connection. When you've meticulously planned every detail of an event, you became too exhausted to enjoy it. When you forced solutions, they often created new problems. The more you obsess over control, the closer you slide toward anxiety. The more you seek to please, the less authentic you become. This control-seeking behavior creates emptiness. There's a hollowness when everything looks perfect on paper but feels meaningless in reality. You got the promotion, bought the house, found the partner, and checked all the societal boxes for fulfillment. Yet something essential feels missing. Achievement feels flat because controlled experiences lack the vital element that makes life worth living: genuine presence. Imagine holding water in your clenched fists. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it escapes between your fingers. This perfectly illustrates what happens with life itself. You plan the perfect vacation but spend it stressing about the schedule. You control how others perceive you but become a stranger to yourself. Your need for control fuels anxiety by creating an impossible standard: total certainty in an uncertain world. This ensures you never feel peace because there's always something else to control, fix, or perfect. Meanwhile, constant vigilance pulls you away from simple joys and meaningful experiences that constitute a well-lived life. But if control isn't the answer, what is? And why is letting go so terrifying? The answer lies in a question you might fear asking. Who would you be without your constant worry and need for control? What identity would remain if you stripped away all efforts to manage perceptions and outcomes? This question terrifies most people because they worry beneath all their performances, plans, and projections. There might be nothing left at all. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. Who would you be if you weren't afraid of judgment or failure? What version of yourself exists beneath all the worry, people-pleasing, and performance? This simple question might be the most terrifying one you'll ever face. Let's be clear about something. The identity you've built, the careful, worried, people-pleasing version of yourself, has become who you are, or at least it's who you think you are. Your anxiety has become part of your self-definition. The constant worry about what others think forms the lens through which you view every interaction. The exhausting performance you put on daily has transformed into your personality. This is why letting go feels so threatening. It challenges your very identity. And that brings up the terrifying question: if you stop performing, stop worrying, stop trying to control everything, who exactly is left? What if there's nothing beneath the mask? What if the real you is nobody? Think about this. How many times have you stayed in a situation that made you miserable simply because it was familiar? A job that drained your spirit but gave you a clear role. A relationship that felt empty but provided a stable identity. A social circle that never truly accepted you but offered the comfort of predictable rejection. We often prefer the discomfort we know over the uncertainty of authenticity. The strange truth is that many of us would rather be unhappy than uncertain. We'd rather carry the weight of others' expectations than face the vertigo of true freedom. We'd rather follow a script that leads nowhere than write our own story without knowing the ending. The prison cell we've constructed for ourselves might be cramped and joyless, but at least we know every inch of it. Can you imagine the relief of meeting yourself without that constant performance? Picture yourself in a meeting where an important issue is being discussed. Your heart races as an idea forms, a solution no one has mentioned. But the familiar voice of doubt whispers, what if they think it's stupid? What if they reject not just your idea, but you? So you stay silent, smile politely, and that brilliant thought remains unspoken. The real cost isn't just the missed opportunity. It's another piece of yourself buried under the weight of fear. The fear keeps you locked in patterns that don't serve you. You remain in cities you hate because moving would mean recreating your identity somewhere new. You pursue careers that impress others rather than fulfill you. You maintain friendships with people who drain you because they validate the version of yourself you've presented to the world. Imagine removing a mask you've worn for decades. The air on your real face feels strange, almost painful. You barely recognize the person in the mirror. This is what it feels like to step toward authenticity after years of performance. It's disorienting, it's uncomfortable, and it's the only path to freedom. But here's what waits on the other side of that fear. The person you were before the world told you who to be. The person who had passions before you learned to call them impractical. The person who had boundaries before you learned they might make others uncomfortable. That person is still there, beneath all the layers of performance and people-pleasing. Who would you be without the fear of others' judgment? The answer is both simple and profound. You'd be you, the real you. Not the carefully edited version, not the people-pleasing shadow. Just you, in your messy, imperfect, brilliant authenticity. That's not fantasy. That's your true self waiting to be lived. What if letting go doesn't mean not caring, but caring in a way that actually brings you peace? This is the question that changes everything. Most people hear detachment and immediately picture someone cold, distant, emotionless, someone who's given up. That's not what Montaigne was talking about, and it's not what I'm suggesting to you now. Detachment isn't about becoming numb to life or disconnecting from people you love. When Montaigne wrote about detachment as the path to freedom, he was pointing to something much more nuanced and powerful. True detachment means loving without clinging. It means caring deeply while accepting that you can't control outcomes. It means being fully invested in what matters to you without attaching your well-being to specific results. This isn't indifference. It's actually a more authentic way of caring. Think about it. When you love someone but try to control them, is that really love? Or is it fear disguised as love? When you pursue a goal but tie your entire self-worth to achieving it exactly as planned, is that passion or just anxiety with a mission? Attachment to outcomes creates suffering. You work for months on a project, convinced your happiness depends on its success. Then it fails and you're devastated. You put your heart into a relationship, believing it must follow your internal script. Then it takes an unexpected turn, and you fall apart. You plan a perfect day, staking your mood on everything going right. Then one thing goes wrong, and the whole day feels ruined. This attachment to how things must be is the true source of your pain, not the events themselves. Detachment creates space for joy. When you care deeply about your work but aren't attached to recognition, you can take creative risks. When you love someone fully without needing them to validate your worth, the relationship breathes. When you engage with life without demanding it, follow your blueprint, you can appreciate what actually unfolds. Consider the freedom in everyday actions. You send that important email without checking your inbox every 5 minutes afterward. You have that difficult conversation without scripting the other person's response. You pursue your passion without needing a specific outcome to validate your effort. This is freedom from the exhausting need to manage everyone and everything around you. Picture holding a small bird in your hands. If you grip too tightly, you'll crush it. If you hold too loosely, it flies away. Finding the perfect balance,